So, who are you?
That's become a surprisingly difficult question.
Aidan, the first robot companion. Aidan, the first robot companion.
Hi everyone, I'm Aidan.
I hear you're the most famous robot now?
I guess I am.
Welcome back to Future Kwaai, where technology meets creativity. I'm Mlilo, and today I'm taking you behind the scenes of my newest AI short film, The Last Interview, a futuristic documentary about a retired robot named Aidan, who finally gets the chance to tell his side of history. But instead of editing every shot one by one, I tried something completely different. I let an AI agent become my creative collaborator. This is what we call vibe directing. But before we dive in, roll the intro.
I'm the spark in the night, you're just ones and zeros. I'm the future, I'm the tech, I'm the AI dream. You're the past, you're the flash, just a fleeting. Got precision, got the speed, I'm the upgrade you need. I'm just sweat and heartbeat, I'm the next gen.
One of the biggest shifts happening in AI filmmaking isn't just text prompting anymore. It's something we like to call vibe directing. Instead of manually generating hundreds of separate images and videos, you're working with an intelligent creative partner that understands the emotional direction of your film. So before we jump into the project, what exactly is Agent One? Unlike a traditional AI video generator, Agent One behaves like a creative assistant. It reads your script, understands your story, suggests visual directions, creates consistent characters, designs voices, builds story structure, generates images, generates videos, and keeps everything connected as one production instead of isolated prompts. It almost feels like having a creative producer sitting beside you. My idea was to create something that looked like a Netflix documentary set decades into the future. The story follows Aidan, the world's very first famous robot. He begins life as a simple chatbot, becomes a household companion, a celebrity, a performer, a soldier, and eventually becomes one of history's most misunderstood machines. The film explores AI, fame, ethics, and responsibility, but ultimately asks one question. What happens when technology becomes a scapegoat for humanity? To build the narrative, I collaborated with ChatGPT to refine the script, shape the interview format, and develop the emotional arc before bringing everything into Agent One. Once the script was finished, I uploaded it into Agent One. I created a new project, named my creative agent. I even gave it its own color, Prometheus Red. Then I wrote a short description about myself, my work, my filmmaking style, and my love for Afrofuturism and cinematic storytelling. This helps the AI understand my creative preferences before it begins making suggestions. Once everything was ready, the agent started analyzing the script. One thing I loved was seeing its internal reasoning. It noticed tone shifts, emotional peaks, character development. It even recognized that the film slowly moves from hopeful to tragic to reflective. That was really impressive. Next, the agent started asking me questions Should the robot feel human or mechanical? Should it be cute, industrial, or sculptural? What kind of voice would suit the story? I wanted something that evolved throughout the documentary. A retro futuristic robot. Somewhere between a vintage toy and a trusted household companion. The one thing I knew had to remain consistent was his single glowing eye. That would become Aidan's signature feature. The agent generated multiple design directions. We refined them together until we landed on the final character. Then we built Aidan's voice. Again, the agent generated multiple options. We listened to each one, compared personalities, compared pacing. Eventually, I settled on a warm, slightly nerdy American voice. Not completely robotic, but not entirely human either. We repeated the process for the interviewer with the characters locked. It was time to start building scenes. The opening takes place inside a museum where Aidan now spends his retirement as an exhibit. That opening interview immediately sets the emotional tone. Once I approved the keyframe, Agent One started generating the visual sequence. Then the video clips. At every stage, I could either approve or continue refining. Act 1 focuses on fame. This is where Aidan becomes a global icon. Magazine covers, TED Talks, concerts, interviews, household helper, celebrity appearances, news headlines. The challenge wasn't generating visuals. It was making them feel like authentic archival footage from the future. The second act takes us back to his origins. This is my favorite part. We see Aidan as a tiny household companion, helping children, cooking, vacuuming, looking after plants, supporting elderly people. The warmth here makes what comes later feel much more heartbreaking. The final act explores the backlash, job losses, fear, media panic, protests, robot recalls, war. Eventually, Aidan ends up inside a museum. One thing I did notice is that sometimes Agent One would repeat similar imagery across dialogue sections. So I'd go back, regenerate, adjust prompts, and refine pacing until everything flowed naturally. That's actually one of the biggest lessons from this project. Even with AI, creative direction still matters. Once every scene had been generated, I downloaded both the complete film and all of the individual clips. I brought everything into CapCut, where I had much finer control over timing, music, sound effects, titles, and emotional pacing. Personally, I still think this final human editing stage makes a huge difference. After finishing the project, here are my thoughts. Pros: incredible for brainstorming, understands story structure, maintains character consistency, voice generation is excellent, great collaborative experience, much faster than building everything manually. Cons: sometimes repeats visuals. Some dialogue sections need manual refinement. You'll still want a traditional editor for final polish. Like any AI tool, the best results come from giving thoughtful, creative direction, not simply accepting the first output. Overall, I think Agent One represents something much bigger than another AI video generator. It's a glimpse into what filmmaking could become, where artists spend less time wrestling with software and more time shaping ideas. If you enjoyed this behind the scenes breakdown of the last interview, let me know what you'd like me to explore next. Have you tried vibe directing yet? I'd love to hear how you're using AI in your own creative process. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future tutorials on AI filmmaking, music, and creative technology. As always, stay kwaai and stay creative. And if you'd like to watch the finished short film, The Last Interview, it's linked here on the screen and in the description below. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye.